Hello and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Joke Rogers. On the program today, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation moves to resolve oil workers' concerns as tanker drivers make good their threat to down tools. "12,000 pupils across 31 schools in Adamawa State get assistance from the Victim Support Fund. And Governor Siriki Dixon says no going back on education sector reforms in Bayelsa State, releases 500 million naira for buildings and roads at the Niger Delta University. The presidency appears to be intensifying efforts towards resolving the ongoing face-off between it and the National Assembly, as President Muhammadu Buhari has met with the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, behind closed doors at the presidential villa. The details of the meetings were not made known, but Mr. Dogara told State House correspondents that it's just a routine engagement. He added that the impasse between the legislative and the executive arms of government is normal in democracy and should not be taken seriously. The Senate last week had refused to commence the confirmation hearings of 27 resident electoral commissioners recommended by the President, citing the Presidency's reluctance to relieve Ibrahim Magu of his job as acting chairman of the EFCC following the rejection of his nomination by the lawmakers. Meanwhile, the presidency announced last week as well that it had set up a committee to meet with the leadership of both chambers of the National Assembly to reach a compromise on the issues. Staying in Abuja, the federal government is seeking an arrest warrant on a former Attorney General of the Federation, Mohammed Adoki. This request was presented by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, through its counsel, Johnson Ojogwane, before Justice John Soho of the Federal High Court in Abuja. The EFCC formally charged the AGF with the illegal transfer of more than $800 million for the purchase of oil prospecting license, that's OPL 245, to a former Minister of Petroleum, Dan Etete, and Malabu Oil. Justice Soho, however, refused to grant the warrant, saying the defendant was not before the court.
What we just did is to mention the matter for the first time. The defendants in the case were not before the court today. We have not been able to serve them, more particularly one of the cases, the first charge, the first defendant, the former Attorney General, is not within jurisdiction for us to serve him. So we have taken we have mentioned the case today. We are taking a fairly long date to enable us take the steps we need to take to bring him before the court. That's what I just told the court now.
What sort of steps would you be thinking of taking?
The normal step that we will take normally as a law enforcement agency to bring somebody before trial. We will take the steps, and it's something we do all the time.
What's the next adjourned date?
The matter has been adjourned to 13th of June 2017. That gives us enough time to do what we need to do to bring the defendants to trial. We have not served them because we need to take these steps today. Having taken a date today, we will serve those that are available, and we will need to even amend the charge to take the trial further if we can't get others. We have mentioned it already. We have taken a date. We need to amend and bring those who are available. We'll serve them and then bring them to trial while we go look for the rest.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has convened a meeting to thrash out the issues listed by the tanker drivers arm of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, as a cause for their industrial action. The meeting, which is scheduled for this afternoon, is coming after the tanker drivers commenced an industrial action earlier today to press home their demands for improved welfare. The union at the weekend announced that its members would withdraw their services, raising concerns that Nigerians may experience another round of fuel supply crisis. Our energy correspondent gathered that no lifting of fuel has taken place at the depots so far today. Already residents of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja are reportedly beginning to feel the impact of the strike as queues are set to be building at some petrol stations. Meanwhile, the Federal Road Safety Commission is collaborating with the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, on how to reduce accidents across the country. Speaking at the National Executive Council meeting of NATO, FRSC Corps Marshal Oyeyemi Boboye says the training and retraining of commercial drivers in the areas of safety and discipline can restore sanity on the nation's highways and reduce accidents to the barest minimum.
Compared to last year, it's still reasonable, but I'm not yet satisfied. From the NATO analysis, a tanker costs about 50 million, excluding the goods. So the goods is about 4 million. So if you had that, that means a tanker with 33,000 liters of fuel on the highway, if it's involved in a crash, that means 54 million is gone. So that means for first quarter, we are looking at about loss of 3.25 billion. And to me, and to NATO, is unacceptable. It's a loss on the investment. And the NATO is also worried. That is why they are partnering with FRSC to ensure that they take a bold step to reduce these crashes. Again, for most of these tankers, trailers and trucks, we are not actually talking about the EU speed limiting device, but calibration. And that is one area NATO has greatly improved on this. You only need to calibrate when it comes to trucks, tankers, trailers, and it's far cheaper. The cost is very minimal, and NATO keyed into this. So we just saw that this is the solution to the issue of speed. The government is already working, the roads are getting better. Abuja Kaduna now is in good condition. It behoves on me to bring in applications that can cut down the speed. Another thing is the issue of lane violation. Lagos Ibadan is going to be 3 lanes from Lagos to Shagamu. The road is being done and the level of construction is highly impressive. The issue of speed after the completion of the road will be a major factor. So it's my responsibility to start getting the collaboration and support of the stakeholders now for compliance with the issue of the speed on the highways. The maximum speed for a vehicle is supposed to be 100. For buses, all these luxury buses, minibuses, supposed to be 90. Then for the trailers, it's ranging between 75 and 90.
Over 12,000 pupils from 31 schools in Adamawa State are beneficiaries of the federal government's Victim Support Fund for the Northeast. The support fund flagged off the second phase of the distribution of educational materials to pupils and officials in Gakira town of Gumbi local government area of Adamawa. The executive director of the fund, Professor Sunday Ochoche, says the aim is to accelerate learning.
Boko Haram attacks on schools, students and teachers in the northeast has left a devastating impact on education during the conflicts that sent nearly 1 million children away from school. With the liberation of more towns and the return of peace to communities, both the federal and state governments are increasing steps to revive not just education but development in the region. The Victim Support Fund is in 3 local government areas of Adamawa State affected by insurgency to attend to their educational needs. Pupils of Gakinda Primary School are optimistic as they file out in their numbers to receive their package. For the federal government representatives, the intervention program is part of plans to revive education in the war-torn region.
We want to encourage every child back to school, encourage every teacher back to school, and to help change the situation or the narrative that gave rise to Boko Haram in the first place. And we are convinced that there is no way we can change the narrative without addressing the issues of education and saying how we can enhance education.
An intervention both the state government and residents appreciate and are willing to support.
A lot of approvals have been done at the Executive Council meeting following our declaration of emergency to ensure that children are mopped up out of the streets, because we know that that was part of what led us to where we are today. Therefore, we want to assure you that whatever efforts we bring in, our hands will also be on deck to ensure that we all make maximum benefits of what we are doing.
We have been donating materials to victims and so many activities that your organization has been doing. Let me tell you today that this is your record and you are going to be dedicated.
Already, 7,000 pupils from Hong, Mubi North and Mubi South local government areas of the state have benefited in 2016, and the federal government says there is no going back on the decision to secure the future of these children through education.
When news across Nigeria returns, the Air Force trains junior officers in counter-terrorism operations. In a moment, please stay with us.